Hello, my name is Ray Salazar, and this is Morning Reel, a 3 to 4 to 100 minute or so podcast of films that I review of all kinds of ages, of all kinds of nationalities, black and white, color, technicolor, France, Russia, Italy, Spain, Mexico, you name it, I review it. And I never thought I would review this film, especially in the time of November. And I hope you've had a good Thanksgiving. As you know, the films that I decided to review are films that are about, family dysfunction, dysfunctional family films. You know what? You know that Thanksgiving is a time where people get together and just, hang out and realize, how great family is. For most people, there's some who hate spending time with their family because I guess their families are pieces of crap or whatever. I don't know, but I never thought I would review this film. This film is called Orphan. It's a 2009 psychological horror film directed by Jaume Colette Serra, screenplay by David Leslie Johnson, story by Alex Mace, produced by Joel Silver, Susan Downey, Leonardo DiCaprio, what? Jennifer Davison Killeran, starring Vera Farmiga, Peter Sarsgaard, Isabel Furman, CCH Pounder, Jimmy Bennett, and Ariana Engineer. Cinematography by Jeff Cutter. Edited by Tim Alverson. Music by John Ottoman. Production company Star Castle Entertainment, Appian Way Productions. Studio Babelberg Motion Pictures and Studio Canal. This film was a box office hit. Now, I never saw this film when it came out. In fact, I don't think I even heard about this film when it came out. And if I did, most likely I ignored it until my wife was like, hey, let's watch this film. I was like, all right, let's do it. And you know what, man? Automatically, I'm going to give this film a 2. Wait, actually, I got a bag right here. Shout out to the Volcano. 2.5 tokes. Yes, 2.5 tokes. Okay, this film, to put it real simple, it's about this family, right? They decide to adopt somebody, right? So they adopt this girl. And this girl's name is Esther. And out of all the people that they saw at the orphanage to adopt, they thought she was, the best one out of the whole pack, right? And probably the reasons being is, her intelligence. She looks very controlled, well behaved, well mannered, and all that. And she looks like the perfect daughter to be, right? The perfect daughter, period. Like this family has been wanting to have, an extra family member because there was a tragic event that happened with the family. It's not shown in the film, but it's talked about, right? So it gives you that motivation to, hey, you know what? I think it's time. So they adopt. Everything goes well the first 2 days, and then things start to really turn around, and it goes really dark. And it turns out that this girl Esther is not who she says she is, like literally. And I'm not going to spoil it. And you know why? As much as I didn't really dig the film as far as like just the story, because there's something about the story that just doesn't touch me. Like it has those tropes of the typical horror film where the mom sees the evil in somebody and nobody believes her. Nobody, not even her own therapist. If anything, her therapist kind of scolds her to not like open up to this child. But sometimes when you have that gut feeling, you gotta go with it. And this woman went with her feeling and went with it. And it turns out she was right about her thoughts about Esther. Vera Farmiga, Peter Sarsgaard, really good team of actors to like play mom and dad. Like honestly, like they're good. They play their characters very well. As far as not even just mom and dad, but like man and wife, right? Trust, loyalty, those things go into play in the film. And it's I like the dynamic where it just kind of pushes the story, right? And honestly, that's the strongest part about this film. It's not really so much the jump scares and the girl being so evil. We all know she's evil and she doesn't care, and we know it. And honestly, like Isabel Furman playing Esther, honestly, I give my hats off to her. Like she actually put it there, as far as being a scary, manipulative, dangerous little person, right? And I like how the siblings in the film play with the whole dynamic of family where like, hey man, you're spending way too much time with her, or like, hey man, pay attention to me, man. We're like, what the happened, you know? And it really messes things up how that goes, because as the story goes, things just go downhill. It's a movie that goes downhill as soon as it starts. Not in a like this movie sucks, but more like how the events play, and how the characters are just distrusting each other, and they're uncomfortable. Life is not going well with these people, and the only one to stop it is Vera Farmiga. And you know what? The twist. We all know about this twist, right? For those who've seen it, there's a twist in this film, and honestly, I didn't like the twist. I feel they should have just stuck with the initial, fact of this little girl. That she's very, very dangerous and violent, and obviously she has problems. Especially problems with men. And you know what? The whole little daddy, quote unquote, like trope, where like daddy's not around, and then the little girl turns out to be a very dangerous, violent woman because of the lack of a parental figure, right? Or the lack of parents, period. And they just took it a little too far with the whole like sexual attraction thing, I like it does make sense. Like, it does make sense because this person is not who she says she is, literally. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, right? But did they really have to do that? Did they really have to write that into that character? Like, honestly, messed up as that girl is, she did not, like, her character did not deserve that. And Peter Sarsgaard played it off very well in the third act of this film. And overall, man, those are the reasons why which turned me off. It turned me off. It's like it jumped the shark for me, and I didn't like that. Like, I feel like it could have just stayed there. But whatever. Like, the twist is a twist, and for a lot of people, it's effective. It does push the story forward. I just didn't like how it pushed the story forward, and I do like the cinematography of this film. This film is shot pretty good, even for like a horror film. It's effective. It got me. There's a shot that I do like in this film a lot. And it's funny that it still stays with me. And it's the shot where Esther comes home for the first time. The family gives her the house tour, and they see that, I think it's that Marshall and Sons or something and Sons grand piano, and it looks beautiful. And I love how excited Esther looked, right? Obviously by looking at a piano, and this is a part of the character, right? The character actually likes playing music. When she looks at the piano, we see the piano placed on top of this like step of sorts, and it has its own space, and then it's kind of barred off in a sense, right? And Esther looks at it behind the barred step, and you see her in between the bars. And I thought that was a pretty fucking cool shot because we're getting the perspective of sort of like the piano in a sense, looking at the little girl. It pretty much tells her how confined this character is, literally. Not by the family per se, but like her life, who she is as a character. And she's looking at a piano, and it's something that in her life, for the most of her life, see how philosophical I'm going, in her life, she was barred of those things, right? And whether it was her fault or not, I mean, we all know whose fault it is, right? And I think it's great. I think it's cool. It does put a perspective in this film. I'm not going to change my score because of it, but that's just like a good highlight of the film. Oh, and guess what? There's a prequel to this film. Yes, a prequel that actually came out in 2022, like just very recently. And guess who plays the little girl? Isabel Furman. You know what? I'm going to talk about Orphan First Kill. Is a 2022 American psychological horror film directed by William Brent Bell, screenplay by David Cogshaw, story by Desley Johnson McGoldrick and Alex Mace, who, had a lot to do with the first film. Based on the characters by Alex Mace, produced by Alex Mace, Hal Sadif, Ethan Irwin, and James Tomlinson, starring Isabel Furman, hey, Rossif Sutherland, Hiro Kanagawa, Matthew Finland, and guess what? Julia Stiles. Dude, you remember fucking Julia Stiles, dude? Cinematography by Kareem Hussein, edited by Josh Ethier. Music by Brett Detter, production companies E1, Dark Castle Entertainment, and Eagle Vision. It's rated by Paramount Pictures through the Paramount Players. This film is sort of the same and sort of different. Now, if you haven't seen the first one, you're definitely gonna have to watch the first one before you see the prequel, because a lot of the information in the first one kind of not kills the character per se, but like it just puts a lot of background to the character and it makes the film not so mysterious. But then again, you don't really expect what the film does to you, during the second act of the film. There's a twist to that you know what? It's like it's like you like it and you hate it at the same time, because like it's kind of bad, but then it's like, you know what? I want to see where this goes, and I was interested to see where this film goes. Hey man, Julia Stiles in this film, I've never seen her play a really cold-hearted woman, and man, dude, they pulled it off very well having Isabel Fuhrman play Esther. Mind you, when Isabel Fuhrman played Esther in the 2009 Orphan film, clearly she was a little girl, and you see a little girl in this film. However, you straight up can't tell that there's a lot of body doubles in this film playing the role of Esther, because it would be impossible to really have like Isabel Fuhrman's face on a little girl, CGI wise, and see her like run amok and all that stuff. Like it would be weird. It wouldn't work out. Kind of like in Twilight Breaking Dawn parts 1 and 2, when you see Renesmee, dude, that fucking baby looked fake as shit, man. Like even up till the point where she was like, I don't know, I think 5 years old into the film, right? Like everything looked fake about her. Anyways, that's for another film review. Honestly, it's fun to see Isabel Fuhrman play Esther, especially in the shots where you see Julia Stiles hug Esther, and you can clearly tell it's one adult hugging another, dude. The face, no matter how hard you can try to manipulate us into thinking that's a little girl, even through makeup, you can still tell that this woman has physically aged, like the real person, right? And it's really hard to get the perfect look without doing it through CGI. And you know what? They did they nailed it. They did a really good job into thinking us that, hey, what we see is a little girl. Like I said, the cinematography, I like seeing the body doubles. We see a lot of back shots. There is a shot, however, where it's a full shot and you can see the little girl, and for the most part, unless you freeze frame it, what we see is really Isabel Fuhrman playing Esther, as a little girl. Pretty effective. And all right, man, this plot is definitely different from the first film. Esther, she escapes from the institute. She runs amok. She travels to Moscow. She is so smart that somehow she was able to Photoshop her face onto a missing child's face in the database, and then was able to get the family on her radar, and the family consisting Julia Stiles, man, who plays this pretty important person up in in American politics, US politics. And I like how they play political motives into Julia Stiles' character, right? Because when you look at her, dude, she's aged gracefully. Not only that, her character, very well mannered, very controlled, probably almost too controlling in a sense, intelligent as well, especially with what she does for a living, right? And I guess to everybody's notion, her daughter was missing, right? But as it turns out, that's not exactly the case. It's far more tragic than that, and obviously Julia Stiles knows it. The son in the film knows it, and it's a political thing, because they say, hey, you get more attention if you claim your child to be missing than dead, because missing is oh, what if, and dead is dead. That is for sure. That is confirmed. Old news, move on. And they played out very well for this character of Julius, played by Julia Stiles, right? And hey, man, Esther gets adopted by this family. Stuff hits the fan, and the tables turn. Julia's like, "Hey, man, you're not gonna ruin my legacy. Simple as that. Nobody's gonna ruin my legacy. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move forward, and that's that." And you know what? I actually like that. I like that from that character. It is so cheesy, especially the scene where they confront each other, Esther and Julia Stiles' character. Confrontation gets real and has Esther by the fucking balls, dude. I gotta say, and it's a little loosey goosey for the most part, but more so, it works. It pushes the story forward. We're like, all right, what's gonna happen? Eventually, like Esther's gonna get tired of this, and knowing her, she's too smart to give in that easily. And you know what? That's fine, because we all know that she's like super smart and crap. But then again, if she's so super smart, why is she getting into some crap like this, right? But then again, hey, mistakes, right? So stuff hits the fan and the tables kind of turn eventually. It's two big brains fighting each other off, and people die, and it's messed up. I'm not gonna really spoil what goes on. They still play that freaking trope where they gotta sexualize the daughter character, But then again, we all know that Esther is not who she says she is, But who cares, right? Like, let's get it racy as you can. Let's get it as controversial as you can. And I guess for the story's sake, I guess it works. For my sake, I don't like it too much. Overall in this film, the things I didn't like about this film, honestly, is just the plot. It's not the plot per se. It's just like you can tell that it could have been written better. Like it's a good story. It really is a good story. It can be a great story, really. To really have like a chick version of Damien. The Omen. It's just that cheese part with like the two characters like confronting each other, and I just didn't like how I went down. And then like there's not enough like to go for from there on. Like it's cool, but there's just not a lot. I wish it didn't have to be too like on the political side of things. It could have just been a boss bitch, period. But they had to put that element there. I don't know. Was it necessary? They could have just been a rich ass family. I would have been cool with that, But whatever, man. It is what it is. 2.5 tokes for Orphan First Kill. Follow me on Morning Shot Films, IG and YouTube. My name is Ray Salazar. Check out more of my recent episodes, especially the month of Thanksgiving, the month of October. Hey, man, I just put them out, whether you like them or not, right? I like them. Sometimes I don't, but whatever. I like moving forward as well. The next film I'm going to, talk about is Princess Mononoke. I love that film, man. I think it's one of the greatest adult animated films of all time. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. That film came out in 1997. Obviously, I saw the English dubs. But, however, I saw it on this very occasion in Japanese audio, and man, shout out to Hayao Miyazaki. He's a master of storytelling. Like that guy. Like, I don't know how Studio Ghibli didn't buy Disney. Because Disney takes away from everybody. But whatever, it's all in fun, right? But yeah, that's the next film I'm gonna talk about. Thank you.